Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Paddle Talk. This week, we're going to be having an interview with some new record holders, Josh and Mason Newman from Newman's Power Sports, joining us for a little talk about their record-setting Raptor from the PSDA race, which we'll have a little bit more coming up later for that. We're going to be talking about some bad news for Thunder Valley Sand Drags with the bad nationals being rained out, as well as previews for the Outlaw Sand Drag Series and Pro Trek Nationals, both coming to Silverback Off-Road Speedway and back-to-back weekends. We'll hit up a little bit with Damian on Brookville's big money bracket race. Big money coming there. Going to be really cool for that. And some hot takes. We found out some very spicy news about Green's Dragstrip and some changes that is going to have for the records. Don't forget to watch Paddle Talk on YouTube and Spotify. Follow us on all of our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and visit us at worldsandragnews.com for all of the upcoming events, records, and news. And don't forget to buy our sponsor stuff. This week, our episode is sponsored by Racing in the Dirt.
Hey everybody, this week's episode brought to you by Racing in the Dirt. Located in Cleveland, Wisconsin, Racing in the Dirt has been in the off-road parts, equipment, and chassis business for over 30 years now. From full chassis builds, currently at 50 and counting, to wheel adapters, brake kits and components, hub kits and components, steering parts and knuckles, suspension parts, air filters, complete chain drives and parts, also real wheels and even cut tires, Scott, Shane, and company can get you hooked up with everything your dirt drag, sand, or mud ride needs. New from Racing in the Dirt for 2024, UTV offerings. From full cages to protected bars, with more parts to come, they're stepping into the UTV market with some new stuff. So, find them on the web, racinginthedirt.com, or connect with them on Facebook, or give them a call. Area code 920-693-2000. That's area code 920-693-2000. And the UPS Daily, racinginthedirt.com.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Maybe looking at background here, a little bit different for me. I'm at work still, recording a little bit on a few upcoming races. We've got first breaking news. The Thunder Valley Sand Drags Bad Nationals has been rained out. They got 2.5 inches of rain last night, more rain in the forecast. They can't, in good conscience, have the event, knowing that people are going to be traveling from a long ways away. You know, this is one of their two big national events. So we're going to be keeping you guys updated on that. There is a possibility that they will reschedule the event, but as of right now, the event is canceled. So, unfortunate thing for Thunder Valley Sand Drags. Moving on, though, I'm joined by Isaac DeHaan and Damian Bowers, and we're going to talk about some cool racing coming to the Michigan area, kicking it off first with the Outlaw Sand Drag Series, heading up there for race number 2. Damian, tell us a little bit about the Outlaw Sand Drag Series heading up to Silverback Off-Road Speedway.
Usually one of the bigger races of the year. Last year we had over 20 cars in the top eliminator class attempt to make the field. If you didn't make the call, quite a lot of driveline breakage. Track was hooking really good last year. Going into the race, King of the Outlaws points, Adam Rose leading, Kyle Farwick second, Corey Yum third. I do not know if Farwick and Gum are going to make the call. Farwick dropped a valve at the race at Cleves, and I do not know if they've gotten the cylinder heads back yet or not. Earlier this week, I talked to Kyle, and he said they do not. Gum, they dropped a transmission down at Shelton's at Billy's race down there. But you also have Jim Langcore, Cody Trice, Jim Brumbaugh, Kathy Ellington, and the list goes on of people that are going to be trying to sneak that win away from Adam Rowe up there in Michigan. Then you go on to the 350 points. Austin Bullock leading, Ryan Kerr, couple of Turbo LSs. Hopefully both of them make the call up there. That'll be a good one. You also have Justin Dees, Jason Hayes with his Larry Minor Jeep, Andrew Meyer with his Turbo LS altered. And again, heavy field, usually a lot heavier up there in Michigan because you've got a lot of heavy hitters in the 350 class up there. 4-0 class, I'm leading the points there. Steve Butcher, the Dotson's big black Ford Bronco that you'd seen in some of Isaac's coverage from the MRA race. In super stock, I do not believe he will be there, but you never know. They might make the trek from West Virginia, but that's a hell of a haul for something they don't normally do. But then behind that, you have Corey Myers, Anthony Ball, John Sorg, Becca Boys, Ken Donaldson, Wayne Gunner, and so on down the line, all probably going to be going for it. And then who knows who will show up to run 4-0 class up there. Then the outlaw bracket points, John Sorg leading the points there going into this race, as well as he's second going into the outlaw 450 class going into this race. So ought to be a great weekend. They've got some ATV classes. Obviously, they've got the kids classes too.
That's for sure. And other than his weekend at Green's drag strip, John, he's been on a roll, especially at his home track in Silverback. So it's going to be really cool to see him. Home field advantage there. We do know that our other WSDN rep, Kyle Wiedemeyer, coming for John in the bracket classes. I'm sure you'll be out there as well, Damian, trying to get down and nail down John. Isaac, we were talking off air. You're going to maybe see about trying to get out there, but not really sure yet.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I would love to get up there, there is that little race life balance. And right now I've been racing for 2 weekends. This is my off weekend, so to speak. I wouldn't mind getting up there maybe. It's only about an hour and a half drive from the house. So I wouldn't mind getting up there maybe Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, kind of catch some of the action up there. So yeah, prior to the pro truck race coming up the next weekend. But yeah, it's going to be a really good weekend. I mean, that's what it boils down to. I think the Friday night show especially is probably going to be as good as you're going to get all year, both at Silverback and in the Outlaw Series. I mean, it's shaping up. That 350 class, as Damian said, is going to be absolutely stacked. Devin and Chad Royce are bringing their capital punishment machine. That thing is the 350 killer right now, as Devin Royce is pretty much unstoppable in that class. I know he won it last year at the Pro Truck race. I think they may have even won it at the Outlaw race last year, and they've got that thing on kill already this year with a couple of wins. Terry Wise, I believe, picked up a class win in 350 at the last Silverback race. He'll be there because he's local. And Rob Chiat, some of the other guys that are up there that run 350 on a pretty regular basis. So that should be a really, really good class on Friday night.
Yeah, it's going to be a really great show. And as we've talked about, this is definitely one of the better showings for some of the big classes. So it's going to be really cool to see all of them up there. Stay tuned for all, the coverage and results and everything we can get from there. And then Isaac, you alluded to it. We're getting back-to-back weekends here of some big races at Silverback. So we've got the Pro Truck Nationals race the weekend following the Outlaw Series. Tell us a little bit about that. What are you looking forward to?
So, yeah, PTN back in the swing of things, coming back for the first race in the PTN Series next week, Friday and Saturday. Friday night, we start out with the 350 class, like I mentioned, which a lot of people will stay over through the week. So that's going to be a really good class on Friday night. Last year, I think we had a 9 or a 10 car field on Friday night for 350. We've got Pro Truck Elite that everybody's looking forward to. Fastest 8 trucks on the property, door-to-door racing as God intended, to quote my friend Joe Tony from High Gear Transmission. So, yeah, heads up for $1,000. I mean, where else can you buy a $40 tested tune and end up racing at the end of the night for $1,000 possibly? I mean, nowhere is that going to happen. So, and you also have a big open bracket class going that night as well as first round of 295 qualifying will happen on Friday night. So that's next week, Friday night, July 5. July 6, we roll into the official Pro Truck Nationals classes, the highlight, and obviously crown jewel being the Pro Truck class, staggered Pro Tree, index to the 10th, 2 qualifying shots based on reaction time, and to set up, a good, hopefully 16 trucks or better field for Saturday. So plus all the regular Silverback classes and the junior classes earlier on in the morning. So it'll be a great weekend coming right after the 4th of July. There should be a lot of people in town. So if you've never been to Silver Lake in the Silver Lake area, Really great, even for a day trip. Really encourage you to come on out, maybe on Friday even. Most people have it off from work. Come on out, check it out. I believe it's only $5 at the gate for Friday night. So Silverback trying to do their part to, get people in the stands. And, all you guys, okay, it's a holiday weekend. You're getting an extra day to rest up, or even travel and stuff. I'm talking to guys like you, Casey Lawyer, Greg Booker, guys like that, Jason Shia. You guys all have Pro Truck Elite legal trucks. You want to run heads up? Here you go. If you're a mud guy and you want to run heads up and see if you got what it takes, here you go, man. It is literally the easiest way to get in a heads up field that you're going to find. It's fastest 8 trucks. That means you're limited. You have no more than 3 passes, to win. This is for you guys. This is for guys like that. Pro Truck Elite on Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point there, Isaac. With it being that holiday weekend, plenty of opportunity for some outsiders to come into the Sand Drags here. I'm really looking forward to seeing the crossover that we're going to see between Pro Truck Elite, Pro Truck, and maybe even some top eliminator competitors. We've got, Todd Bilsma out there. He says he's looking for the 2.9s. Jason Benson might show up in his Pro Charge Jeep. We've got a lot of these fast trucks that may be keeping an eye on the Pro Truck Elite, maybe want to jump in there. We were just talking about Hayes in his nitrous assisted Larry Minor Jeep. He's going to be something that may be able to go in there and run a couple different classes. So it's going to be, I'm looking forward to seeing that crossover. Do you know of anybody that's planning on running both Pro Truck Elite and Pro Truck?
So a lot of guys can run Pro Truck Elite and Pro Truck. Thinking back from last year, Dave Kramer ran it on Friday night as well. Turn the bottle on. Dave has said for years, he's one of the OG Pro Truck guys. For years, he kept preaching, give me a reason to turn the bottle on and turn it up. Well, we gave it to him. And I tell you what, Dave did not disappoint. He was within, I believe it was like 13 or 14 thousandths of beating your number one qualifier, which was Jason Benson driving Michael McCord's twin turbo truck last year on a hole shot in the first round. So Dave will run both nights. You'll see a guy like Jason Benson would run both nights as well. They're looking to run that. It should be really good. Hopefully going to see possibly Jim Bailey's new Jeep out. I believe they've had that thing running. Maybe it's on some 3.7, something like that. So that could possibly make it in, depending on who else shows up. That's the beauty of Pro Truck Elite. You literally don't know who's going to show up for a Friday night deal. That's what.
About to say, you also have Portanga's just got their truck back.
Yeah, and I was going to bring that up too. I don't know if that truck's going to be ready or not, or really, I believe the plan is maybe for Ryan to run, Pro Truck Elite with the truck. I honestly don't know. That's a really good question, and something
Speaking of trucks,
I actually
too, I
don't
think
know at this point.
Michael McCord, doesn't he also have a new truck coming out?
Yes,
does,
but he's got a lot of work left to do.
I was going to say, will that truck be done? Will it not? Who knows? Maybe maybe the holiday plays into that. That's what's so great about, and especially with it being the holiday weekend, you literally do not know. The Swaggers with their red Bronco. There's a truck that I have not seen a whole lot of, but this would be a perfect class Pro Truck Elite for them as well. That is a totally Pro Truck legal, ride as well. So going to be really interesting to see. Like I said, the holiday type weekend brings a whole different dynamic into this than what we're used to, and should make for a great weekend of racing. So,
yeah, and Damian, being that you're kind of going to be up there for the Outlaw Series, are you planning on making it back for Pro Truck, or are you going to be at another race that's going on that weekend? We got a whole stacked weekend here. So tell us a little bit about Brookville. They've got their big money bracket race the same weekend as PTN.
Yes, Brookville, their big money bracket race. Normally it's been the weekend before the Outlaw race. They swapped dates this year. That is looking to be a good one. The past couple of years, it's paid over $5,000 to $6,000 to win the race. It's a $100 entry fee, 100% goes back to the racer on the entry fees. They've added a second chance race with a $50 entry fee as well. Normally 60, 70 cars in there. We get cars from the Lisbon area. We get cars from Michigan. We get cars from all the way out in the Missouri, like the Desperado that you see in the Mallows that were out at the MRA race. They usually come in here because Layton actually won the race 2 years ago.
Are you planning on being at that one, or are you going up to PTN?
I got to be at Brookville. I can't really afford to stay the week up there or to leave the car up there and drive back. So I'm going to come home and race at home, support the track, because right now, Brookville, they're still got to pay off all the insurance for the year after that whole mess at the start of the year.
Yeah, if you guys missed it, Brookville ran into some issues with insurance. Policyholder dropped them and had to struggle to get a new policy. They've got it worked out where they paid part of it up front and they're paying installments. So it's definitely something like this, a bigger race that they're going to be putting on is going to really help them. So hopefully we get a good local crowd there. We'll see the split between people that want to go down for the big bracket race or stay up in Michigan for the Pro Truck Nationals for those Michigan people. It's going to be interesting to see where the people kind of choose there. Stay home for the Michigan people, travel to support a big bracket race, and the same thing for yourself, Damian. Staying home, local racing versus traveling out, especially for 2 weeks back-to-back in Silverback.
Right. But either way, both races are looking to be massive this year. Hopefully we get to see, I look forward to seeing the coverage of PTN Elite in the Pro Truck class. Usually some really great racing between a lot of really cool looking rides.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey everybody, this week's episode brought to you by Racing in the Dirt. Located in Cleveland, Wisconsin, Racing in the Dirt has been in the off-road parts, equipment, and chassis business for over 30 years now. From full chassis builds, currently at 50 and counting, to wheel adapters, brake kits and components, hub kits and components, steering parts and knuckles, suspension parts, air filters, complete chain drives and parts, also real wheels and even cut tires, Scott Shane and company can get you hooked up with everything your dirt drag, sand, or mud ride needs. New from Racing in the Dirt for 2024, UTV offerings. From full cages to protected bars, with more parts to come, they're stepping into the UTV market with some new stuff. So find them on the web, racinginthedirt.com, or connect with them on Facebook, or give them a call. Area code 920-693-2000. That's area code 920-693-2000. And the UPS Daily, racinginthedirt.com.
We are back with two awesome special world record holding guests. We are with Josh and Mason Newman, Newman Power Sports, and these guys are badass. They have a badass bike that just, I believe, 334 with a 0. I believe that's the fastest 4-stroke out in the game right now. Is that not? Is that right, Josh and Mason?
Well, I mean, absolutely, but it's the fastest single cylinder period. So
there you go. Fastest single cylinder
four-stroke
in the game. That's insane. That is fast. So fast. And well, first of all, let me start with this, and then we'll get into some basic questions. Mason, how's it feel being a world record holder, dude?
It's amazing, especially like with my dad being doubted, with all the mechanics and everybody telling him nothing's going to work, what you're doing is impossible. And to see him, because I know all the hard work that gets put into this. I mean, dude wakes up at 3 a.m. every morning to work on bikes. And I'm beyond proud of him. And of course, for him trusting me to just send it and ride the bike. It's a whole different feeling doing it as a father-son team.
Yeah, that's definitely something I can relate to. Me and my dad, not quite in the record pursuits, but it's really cool to be able to do it as father-son team. And, as Billy said, you guys are world record holders now. You got both the PSDA open two-stroke and 4-stroke single cylinder, and I believe the big bore single cylinder 4-stroke records with that 334.0. And then you guys took the double E ATV World Sand Drag News mile an hour record at 94.68 miles per hour with those big old tires that you guys are turning with that Raptor. So it's pretty cool. Awesome achievement. Maybe Mason, Josh, whoever wants to take this, tell us a little bit about how you guys got started before you got up into this world record attempt. So where you guys start in sand drags?
No, I was looking at pictures actually. We've got pictures of Mason on the first bike that I did, 916, and we made our first passes.
At Newtown.
It was at Greens.
It was at Newtown. That's
Yeah.
what, because Chinks.
It was at Greens. It's fine.
Okay.
March of 2019.
Well, debate about it right now. This is fun. Debate about
Oh,
it. This
No,
is
it's
great
fine. He
content.
doesn't know. He's just a little kid. Because 2018 Shelton's, we weren't able to make it. We had the bike on the dyno and the MSD failed. So we brought the TRX and I totaled my truck there. On the way there, I hit a cow and we totaled our truck. So that was 2018. Fast forward 2019 Shelton's, we cleaned house. We won every single cylinder class that we could enter. Junior Tremosi was there and such an awesome guy. He tells me, you did a good job, but you got a long ways to go. So it's cool winning, but when none of the record holders are there, you didn't really achieve, you got the plaques, but our last trip to Shelton's, we made 2 passes and it rained. So we got to see some father and son movie time though, so that was cool. As far as where it goes, we've been to Newtown, Greens, Shelton's, and Gilbert. We've been to tons of.
You forgot Lumber River.
Yeah, Lumber River.
Yeah, been there a few times. I
Yeah.
just want as someone that really tries to follow along with a lot of the stuff that goes on in the sport. Might be a twin cylinder 2-stroke guy, but I've followed these guys since the beginning. I've raced with them quite a bit, from Lumber River to Newtown. Probably I know we were Greens once I came down. We've got to run a couple times and together, and it's just you guys have always been a couple guys that you come across at the track and you enjoy talking to. Consider you guys both friends of mine, so I was really pumped to see you guys get it done out there. It's always something a little bit more special when you see a father and son team get it done when you're out there racing with family and racing, and you like to see I'm trying to think of how to say it. It's you guys came into a Shark Tank of a big builder class. There's not a lot of guys that want to go toe to toe with Racer's Edge and Cuervo and all these big shops, and they've dominated for years. So as a friend and a competitor, nothing but respect for you guys, because seeing you guys come out there putting a stamp on it, fastest single in the world all around, fastest 4-stroke all around. That's I know you guys are as humble as they come, but credit where credit's due. You guys are really, I've seen you guys struggle. I talked to you, Josh, last year when you were at the fence after 2 passes in the rain. Mother Nature bites us sometimes, but man, you forgot about all that on last week, didn't you? 334 took that all the way. I'll tell you, a lot of hard work. You guys earned it. No one deserves it more than you guys. So well done.
That means a lot from anybody, but to have someone like yourself, what you've done for the sport, how well you're known. I told Paul Moore today that it's really surreal, because these are people that we looked up to and we thought that if they knew who we were doing something right. But Ricky, you've known Mason since he was about 12 years old, and you've always called him, this little man, basically.
Oh yeah, always acted way more mature and These young kids these days, his generation. Sorry, Mason, it's rough out there. And you're a top-notch kid, and you're gonna do big things. And I knew you guys were gonna get it done somewhere along the way, all those years ago. So I'm as happy as the entire sport is for you guys. I'm not surprised. I knew you guys are dedicated, and it's nothing short of impressive. You guys are right on the door at 20, so it's impressive.
You guys talked about, and Mason mentioned this right at the beginning. You guys did it your own way, regardless of what everybody said. Could you kind of expand on that? What you guys meant by that? Because somebody like myself, I don't know anything about the type of world of what you guys are doing, but I know that it's very, very impressive to run a single cylinder into the 30s the way you guys did. So what do you guys mean by you did it your own way?
To start in Shelton's, we got connected with Kevin Cunningham and Bobby Boring, and just an awesome group of people. Kevin was making components, and at that point I already had all of Jose's old world record front and rear, and I was pretty much set up. I didn't really need anything, but when you get connected to people and you're able to use their parts rather than something that was produced for someone else, it really makes a connection. So I truly believe that God will put the people around you that you need in your life to succeed, and that's really what He's done for us. We're a small shop. I'm a diesel mechanic during the day, and there's mornings where I wake Mason up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we go in the garage and get done as much as we can until 5:15 till I gotta go to work. And then for someone like Mason at 17 to work 35, 40 hours a week landscaping and do homeschool and do basketball and do all that he does, this week he's at Vacation Bible School serving. So it's just a testament to how good of a kid he is. But we do have a Raptor 1040. We did purchase some parts. Well, we purchased our parts from FSA. Some of the parts that we have are one-off. I ask for things to be a certain way because I have a certain theory about how things work. And I don't want what everybody else has. That being said, it's just logical. We're running nitromethane for a power adder. It may look, there's plenty of racing that says that that's NA, but we have rules for that, so it is an unlimited record. But we chose that over the other things simply for the excitement. I mean, there was one person that kind of dominated in that little area. Matt McCormick did a good job of setting that bar where he did. It was cool to meet him in 2018 when he ran the 343 there at Shelton's. But it's our time now. So we want to represent the sport the best way we can, represent Christ the best way we can. And you use the people that are around you in a positive way for each of you to grow. So, I mean, that's where Kevin Cunningham comes in and plays a vital role. He likes to say a small role, but it's not that at all. Friend, fabricator, whatever. He's done a lot of custom one-off stuff for us, and we wouldn't be where we are without it. We wouldn't be where we are on this video call without James Shelton doing his job. And Ricky knows we can do our job to the T and give it every single thing that it could do and make every clutch adjustment possible. But if Mason Newman doesn't do his job, then it doesn't matter.
And that's another thing I really want to touch on is Josh, you can make all the power in the world. Kevin can put the best chassis together for you. Mason can do the best job in the seat. The track can be there, or one or two of those factors can be off for whatever reason. If you don't have all of that in it takes everybody doing, like you said, Kevin likes to say a small role, but it's obviously a big role. He's just a super humble guy. if you have to have everything kind of working as one. You have to have the motor right. Mason has to do his job. The chassis has to be right. The track has to be there. You're someone that I really I follow you guys like a lot, like I said. And one thing that you do is you're real big on you pay attention to the air a lot. That's a real big thing. I've noticed that you really observe what you're running in. And so that has to be there, right? Especially for you with a big power plant like that. Does how bad does the air affect you compared to, I'm just kind of curious with, I mean, with the big single like what you guys are working with, how does that work with the good air and the bad air? Does that really you guys fall off in the bad air pretty bad?
I think that really boils down to the fuel that we use. Not only just your Banshee. We came right off the trailer, and I told Mason, I was like, we're gonna go out here, we're gonna run a 70, and it's gonna be ugly, and that's okay. Our first pass is gonna be a 70, and it's just part of it. That's normally you think you're gonna go out there and kill it. I was like, we're just gonna go out there and it'll look bad, and we'll look at the data and make some changes. We literally had the same tune in it from Gilbert. I richened it. Well, I richened it substantially. We changed the fuel a little bit, but that first pass we ran 347 at, I think it was 91, and our best pass prior was a 344 at Gilbert in good weather. So the changes we made in the off season definitely are working, but it was 97 degrees. It was 87% humidity, and the density altitude, I guess, the DA was 6,056. So
Dang.
Ricky, that if you run, we'll just say a 47 at that weather with your 425, when it's cold outside.
It's gonna get good when there's anything decent.
Oh yeah. And we didn't run not a single number really when it was nice. Friday night, I think it was. Friday night we got to make a bracket pass, and I took the corrections completely off the computer, and it showed me that I was wrong. And we ran a 41, and we had an issue shifting, and it was just it was interesting to run that, and then you see a 41 ticket and you're upset about it. So that's okay.
Tell me, Josh, when you're talking about the fuel that you run, so you mentioned you run nitromethane, and then you guys are also running an EFI system, whereas a lot of these guys that are still running even the big single cylinders are still running carburetors. Does that play into being able to correct a little bit for that bad air that you guys had at Chilton's?
Absolutely. So as a racer, any of you can answer this. If you were to make a pass and you could tell, instead of reading the plug, a computer would tell you what it's doing, or what the air fuel ratio was, or what your pipe temp was. There's several things that we monitor. Let's just say on your Banshee that you made a pass and you could see that when you shifted gears, how much the clutch slipped. Let's see, you could see your drive shaft plot. All of those things, whether it's the temperature that's causing it, the track conditions. There's so much technology out there, and no offense to anyone, but you're not using it. So, our bike on alcohol, just M1, 2 different dynos, it showed like 132, 111 foot-pounds of torque. And then on one dyno, it showed 138 and 112. And we're not running anywhere near M1 right now. So there's been some calculations made from several people that are smart Banshee guys when I put the weight out there, and they seen the ET, and they were able to calculate within about 3 to 4 horsepower of what the fuel consumption shows that we're making. So that computer showing me a dyno graph the whole time he's making a pass, when he shifts, how far the RPM drops. Like I said, the EGT, we have a target there, and we're nowhere. We're about 20 steps ahead of where we started, and we got about 20 more steps to go. So we're not even timing wise, we're not even on scratching the surface to where we're going to be. So there's more
for sure.
power.
I mean, you guys mentioned that just kind of really starting this journey, around 2018, 2019, just in the sport as in general. And in reality, this current setup, you guys have not had this bike that long. It's been 2 seasons, if you include this one.
I believe so. I think we we did some trading and got a chassis, and we put this big motor in it with the fuel injection, and we took it out and pretty much just eat the transmission up because it wouldn't go straight. Fortunately, we were able to have Blake Chavez ride it, which he did a phenomenal job. But I mean, it ate the ship for us. When something doesn't go straight and you're in and out of it trying to get it down the track, it doesn't last. And that was our first chassis issue. Then we went to a different OEM chassis, and Kevin Cunningham did a plus 20 chromoly swing arm and stuff for us. And we really tied in a bigger torque strut is when we finally started getting it dialed in. I think we had Kev Wren ride it because she was 16. That's kind of been the holdup with us is Mason wasn't old enough to ride it for any real reason. For one, he wasn't really experienced enough either. I think he was 14.
73.
Yeah, he was 14. We put him on the pink bike. And I told him, I was like, when you launch, be ready because if it sucks you underneath the tires, we'll never make another pass. And I think he ran 373s like the first time out. Really cool setup, like a 920 or something. But he's done really good. And I think a big part of our success is absolutely that Mason has only rode Raptors. There's not many riders that with his amount of experience can do what he does. And it all starts in us talking about where to shift. And then we're able to actually look at the data and see what it does. But if we got 2 bikes there that he's riding, just like at Gilbert, when he finally put the no bar bike away, like consistent passes. Some people have been riding for years and they can feel a bike and hear a bike. And if you've heard the video of our bike, it doesn't sound like any other Raptor. It just sounds like a tractor going down the road. It just, you hear a couple, you hear 2 shifts, one's almost instant, but it just motors down the track. I mean, it's not really turning a ton of RPM, so you don't hear it like you do maybe the Banshees where they scream and you can tell when to shift. He doesn't get that opportunity. It happens so fast.
Let's talk about something else real quick. Whenever you guys go up for each pass, tell us kind of like the process that you guys go through with him on the bike, you kind of analyzing the track. What are you guys looking at? What are you looking for? How do you line them up?
In all of our practice passes, and for the longest time, I kind of crippled him by doing it all for him. And that's probably where I messed up as a dad, just wanting to be a part of it maybe, or, staging him or whatever. He's got it under control now and he's proven that. And it's definitely a proud moment. But the first thing is you got to crank that baby over past top dead center. I've got a 1/2-inch ratchet and it is a bear. I think we calculated the cranking compression was around 17 and a half to 18 to 1. Running compression somewhere static, I guess 17 to 1. But consistency in the track. And that's something I've been fortunate to have our race family help me with for a long time. And I'm finally making those decisions on my own. But, I could go look at the track and see something like a good spot. And, you take someone as experienced as Ricky, or maybe even yourselves, and you see something completely different. And that's just something that's going to take time. But we have found our most success in the hardest pack that we can find. And I partially think that that's from the tire that we run. And if you ask Paul Moore, it's a tire that nobody else runs, and there's a reason for it. Well, they don't make enough power, I guess, but
you do.
it's
You're-
working.
Hey, that's as trash talk as Josh Newman gets, but that means I'm making more power than anybody, and I just want to let you know it. Okay, and I love
I
that.
love it. I love
And
it.
one thing I want to say real quick is that you're kind of saying you said it throughout everything you just said, but you guys are just scratching the surface. I mean, you guys, Mason is just coming into, he just became old enough recently to be able to run the PSDA event. So he's still going to come into his prime as a rider. The more that you guys do together, the better you both are going to improve all the way across the board. So, I mean, to be running as well as you guys are already, really, I wanted to ask Mason, how fast do you think you're riding this thing? How fast do you think this thing is going to go?
Every rider, some fasters feel fast and they're not fast at all, and some of them feel slow and they're stupid fast. Mile per hour wise, I mean, I feel like I'm gone half the time, but sometimes I just feel it and I know, and I bash myself like mid pass too. If I shift wrong or if I feel like I did something wrong, I'm sitting there shaking my head, or I look down and tuck real quick and just act like it never happened. But that 34 we ran, that felt slow. 94 miles per hour is not slow at all, but
So you're saying you think it has mid-20s in it? That's what you're getting at.
lower.
He's saying he's
Oh.
unfazed. He's saying that I'm a dog and I can take more. I'm ready to go faster. That's what he's saying.
That's exactly
I'm
what
thinking
we're gonna
because
do.
I'm thinking what Josh said just now is he's making enough power to go deep into the 20s.
Let me ask you this, Josh. So, like we're saying, this is relatively in drag racing terms still a newer combination. You're running EFI, nitro injected, not running any other power riders currently, still running an OEM loop style chassis, obviously way big out the back end. Where do you guys see your combination going in its current configuration, and do you guys have any plans to really take this to a whole nother level in the future?
We were really blessed to meet Kevin. Kevin built me a front loop. It was the first Raptor loop that he had done. So I do not have an OEM front frame.
Okay.
It does look very similar, and that's the whole point, because we both agree that a Raptor 700 looks very nice in the front.
Well, it fooled us. Great job, Kevin.
Yeah, he does an amazing job. The wonderful thing about having him involved is he would never put Mason at risk. He would never put anyone at risk. His way of thinking and my way of thinking is definitely two different things. Not safety wise, but the way I would fix things versus the way he would. The suggestions I make, I'm sure he probably wants to never talk to me again sometimes. But I think I would say that with the weather the way it was, there's easy to suggest that we're 10% down on power. 97 degrees. And we're going to go to Gilbert and it's probably going to be 70. And then those nights sometimes in the high 40s. If anyone does any research on nitro, that scale is calibrated at 60 degrees. So at 60 degrees, you might pour the percentage that we're using, and we'll just use a number of 20, and it might test 20. But at 80 degrees, it might.
Oh, he froze.
So,
hey, Josh,
sorry,
you froze
Josh,
real quick.
yeah.
Can you repeat that again?
I was just mentioning that the nitro is calibrated at 60 degrees on most scales. So you have a hydrometer and you test it just as we do our fuel test for the 4-stroke and 2-stroke records. Being 800 and 830, that let's just say if we're running 20% nitro and we tested it at 60 degrees, it should show 20. Well, if we're running 20% nitro at 80 degrees, it might only show 16 to 18. And of course, I have that full calculation on a sheet that I could give you exact numbers. But 40 degrees might show 24. So whatever percentage we're running, the difference at 97 degrees is way down. So just the weather change, we're probably going to pick up. If I had to be loose with how much we may pick up, it'd be 18 to 25 horsepower.
Wow. That's a lot in the bike world, folks.
Yeah.
With how lightweight
I was gonna
everything
say,
is.
yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
And that's a rough estimate. I'd love to know for sure, but we just have to see what the weather looks like.
Yeah,
we
no
went
idea what
on
I would do
scales.
for 18 to 25 horsepower.
Same.
Just by
Ricky,
the air
same.
cooling down.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
hey, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Nope. Sorry. You're gonna say something.
At this point right now, our oil still looks like oil. So we're not too deep into a percentage where it's a milkshake. But we talked about Mason and his experience. The first time Mason rode the bike at Newtown, he made 2 passes. His first pass was a 65 and then a 64. And then we went to Shelton's and I had tuned it on alcohol and I didn't change the fuel by gear. His first pass was a 95 because it was basically tuned for the other fuel and then run alcohol in 4th gear. And then we made the corrections and he ran a 65. So within 2 passes, we picked up, 3/10. And then we went to Gilbert.
352.
First pass was a 352. We worked through some stuff and we just had a really, really rich target. And he went a 44. I think we made maybe 12 to 15 passes at Gilbert total. So you're looking at 19 passes before he went to Shelton's. Shelton's was our first passes this year. So he's got, I think we made 13 passes at Shelton's. He's got 33 passes on the bike basically. So
Wow.
it's a testament to what he can do in my eyes. I mean, none of it's possible without him doing his job. So
Oh, yeah, he's a freaking beast. I couldn't run 330s on a bike. I'd freaking fall off before the 60 foot. That's insane.
that's a big deal too. I've heard of, the record Raptors, of course, they ran like a 128, I think is what Edgar ran at Dome, maybe. And I mean, I don't think that we ran a 130 60 foot.
Since last year.
Yeah. We might have ran a 130 at Gilbert last year, but the record pass I think was a 122 or a 121.
Wow.
And then our last pass, we had some issues with the motor. It didn't quite make the whole ride. Mason did a great job of handling that, but it ran a 121.7 60 foot as well. So we've got 2 121s. I think we've got 4 122s. We got a 124, 125. It's every small change, the 60 foot's getting faster. So, you look at what these 650 Banshees are capable of doing that are just, I mean, I don't know that we'll ever make that kind of power. I don't really know what they make, but they're fast. And, the whole race is a 60 foot. So if we get that 60 foot, 119, 118, it's only going to be faster. But the weather's going to get us in the 20s. I don't doubt that. I think with the changes we're going to make, the weight we're going to try to lose, because the bike's heavy. I mean, it is what it is. There's some things that you can't change, but there are some things that you can, and that's what we're going to look at, the things that we can change. It'd be cool to be in the teens.
Yeah, I remember when you guys posted the weight, I was actually surprised it weighed that much. I mean, all intents and purposes for the two-stroke folks, I mean, that's a weight class Banshee weight for what the thing weighed.
Yeah, you see a lot of grown size men. There a lot of turbo chassis out there getting weighed this weekend. I tried to hang out at the scales. Jeff supplied the scales, so I tried to hang around them and make sure that they were taken care of there for a good while until the heat just kind of you get heat soaked and you got to tag somebody else in. But there's a lot of Banshees that are 229 that are weight class bikes. So
So a little bit of weight savings. Do you guys have any plans? I know big with some folks in the Raptor community is turbocharging them. Do you guys have any plans of going that route? Or are you guys going to stick with the injected nitro setup?
when you speak about horsepower per pound, why can't I think of his name?
Victor?
Yeah, Victor, and Revolution Performance, they have done amazing with turbos. Victor's bike has posted dyno sheets of over 225 horsepower. And that was a full frame bike. But he never cut anything out of it. And I think that's the biggest problem with the OEM frames. And that's the biggest thing that we've seen is the rigidity of them. We concentrate so much on going light, but then when your bike won't make an A to B pass, it really doesn't matter, how light it is, because you're fighting it just to get it down the track. I'm sure Ricky's seen that his first pass maybe with the tie chassis. You had to kind of rethink where to move things. I would think Jordan does an amazing job.
My first weekend on a tie chassis was a rough go, I'll tell you. So it's a different ball game when things move and do. It's a whole different ball game. But I always thought that the four strokes were held back because of the frame rules, in my opinion. I always felt like you guys not being able to run outside of a OEM chassis was just doing nothing but restricting, what you guys could do. In my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. I want to say our front loop with the A arms welded on and a tie stem, and that as one piece on the scale was about 14 pounds lighter than a drag cut OEM frame.
Wow.
Without A arms, without a stem. So for me personally, I absolutely would take any sponsors we can get because we got a lot of plans and it's going to get expensive. But I would never run a tie frame, not a full tie frame. The torque that we make and the horsepower, I think chromoly is the way to go. Not only for budget, but I mean,
I think there's been a lot of people that have proven that chromoly frames are, they're definitely doable. To Ricky's point, running a tie chassis does not guarantee you success. And there's certainly some things that tie has an advantage of, but Josh, you're getting at titanium moves a lot more than chromoly, and by the time you start bracing things up the way that they need to be to make sure that everything stays straight, sometimes you don't even really end up that far ahead, with all that extra cost and effort. Just having a molly chassis set up the right way, and it sounds like you've got a lot of cool ideas about different things that you still want to try that maybe other people aren't really thinking of, that people don't think are going to work. And I think that is what it boils down to, is that you guys getting the record for PSA at 334.0 with us 94.68 miles an hour. That comes down to trying those things that people say aren't going to work, trying to think outside the box, really pushing the envelope of where things should go. So I think you guys are on the right path, and yeah, Ricky, I think we're gonna see teens out of them.
That's a couple years ago, 2, 3, 4 years ago, if you told me a Raptor was going 34, I would have called you a liar and said that it's not possible. So to see the whole entire game as a whole is improving, and it's pretty cool to see you guys at the forefront of the 4-stroke deal because I think that you're kind of going to be able to pull away from them a little ways until they start catching up to what to going outside the box a little bit. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys running Gilbert. That's for sure.
Well, an awesome thing about Kevin's philosophy is you don't have to have a rigid frame to do it. And that's exactly, if we want to go, if we wanted to make any changes to shorten the back half or anything is that nature, you just unbolt the swing arm. That's one thing. If you look at
that's huge. That's huge being able to change your swing arm out if you want to. Say like a Wednesday night, you had you're sitting around and saying, throw 2 more inches on this bad boy tomorrow and see what happens, or just whatever. That's being able to do any chassis adjustability in general is huge.
Absolutely. And that's something we don't necessarily have the budget of some. It's definitely, you've been to my house, Ricky. You didn't see no garage. Everything comes out of that little that garage right there at the house. Whether it was when the chassis dyno was in that little garage and there's bikes stacked on top of it to do whatever I need to do to make it happen. But
no, that's why earlier I said, I've like you said, I've been to your house. I see where you guys operate out of. I see how hard you guys have worked over the years and coming up with your own theories and your own way of doing things. And it's not been easy. We all have very tough outings sometimes. Mother Nature, like you said, Shelton's last year is just very tough. But I've always said a couple things, and you guys are a true testament of that. And passion beats money any day of the week. So in the most dangerous teams out there are passionate, dedicated teams, and the size of the pockets don't matter when you got when everybody in has one goal in mind and everyone's on the same page. You see it all the time, and I love personally. I've always been someone that doesn't have a huge budget, but I like to try to see where I stack up, and you guys are doing. I love seeing that. I love seeing the blue collar guy. That's what I was looking for earlier. The blue collar guys, the guys that you don't have the unlimited budget and and you're out there but you can't beat passion. I'm telling you, you can't beat passion. So
some straight up dogs right there.
They are. They're the guys are they're 2 of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. But they're dogs, man.
They're dogs. They're nice dogs.
They've been charging hard and working hard, and it's awesome to see you boys starting to really hit your stride. And like I said, there's more to come. Mason's gonna get more comfortable. More like you said, 33 passes on a setup. To me, 33 passes is just scratching the surface. And you, as the engine builder and the tuner, I mean, you're getting to play with this data, and you're only gonna get more comfortable. And I gotta say I'm gonna give my pick early for 4-stroke. My 4-stroke pick for Gilbert, Billy, Newman's Power Sports.
All right, early pick right there. You got it.
When they go out there and set the world on fire and light the boards up, just remember who said it here first.
We're gonna save this for when Gilbert comes around and it actually happens, and then we'll play this again numerous times. But yeah. So Josh, Mason, what's next, man? Tell us what's next, brother.
I mean, we're only gonna get better, just like he's been saying. Everybody else does. We're only gonna get better. We're gonna go to easily. Gilbert last year was the best thing for me and for him. For as much as we learned there, and we came up short of Gilbert, and running a 344 was amazing, but I wanted that record so bad, and it broke my heart, to be that close yet so far.
Yeah.
And coming to Shelton's last week, and James working his tail off, and seeing my dad, day in and day out working his tail off. Being as close as we were last year, I wanted it so bad. And, to get it done when all odds were against us with our cases breaking and us having to switch motors and the top end out and everything. And then the first pass with a brand new motor, it run the world record was pretty insane. And I expect, more out of us, especially if we can do that, there's no telling how far we're going to go.
Yeah,
Well, I'm ready for it. I'm ready.
That was the interesting thing. Thursday, we had bracket and index. So of course we entered bracket because, at that point they were calling us Mr. 339. We done ran 3 of them. In the first 10 passes, I think we ran 339s and a 334 within 10 passes at Shelton's. Our first pass qualifying for bracket, we cracked the cases. Mason did his job, got the bike back to the trailer. And we looked at some stuff, and I seen oil on the ground, and of course I found a crack in the front cases, which is sadly it's a common thing with Raptors. We don't quite have the support that the Banshee guys do, but that's definitely something that we want to cases are a weak point, detonation, whatever. And I think they just they had a good life. So we didn't make any passes in bracket. We yanked the motor out of our other bike that we took specifically for that situation if it happened. And, luckily I had Kevin bore the cases to fit the big cylinder and everything. And we swapped motors, honed the cylinder, cleaned the piston up, put it all back together, torqued it, pushed it down for the index qualifying. And literally the first startup was in the qualifying lanes. I think it took a couple hours, of course, but
2, 3.
we were able to make our first index qualifying pass, and it was a 334.
So you had breakage. You took 2 or 3 hours to basically build a whole new engine basically at your pit. And then you fired it up, first startup with that engine that you put together in the staging lanes for your qualifying pass. And you go out and you run a number. That's
no heat cycles. The night before we had some issues, whether it be bar height or, from the larger paddles towing the bike back and Mason bouncing around a little bit. So we had to resecure the subframe. The carbon fiber rails were getting weak. So we went to a local machine shop, Sky Tower. Jimmy was able to take care of us there. Was going to charge me $47 for some a whole stick of 049 3/4 tubing. We were able to cut that down, and we cut the subframe rails and lined them with that chromoly and ran some self-tapping screws and kept on racing. Like I said, God provides. It's not something that we're doing. It's absolutely him putting the right people around us and making it available. Without him, exactly what Ricky said before. It's not our time until it's our time, and he's the only one that's going to say it's our time. We were at Gilbert, and we really got connected with the Bennett Motorsports team, Nick and Dan, and they taught me so much about using that fuel tech and how to smooth things and make corrections appropriately. And then, we've been connected with Paul Moore, and he connected us with someone that showed up with the car at Shelton's, and that gentleman's got a lot of experience with the same fuel we're using, so he was able to make some suggestions, and by far just having him there, tuning wise, we jumped 15 to 20 steps, I feel like, personally. And sometimes it's just a matter of someone saying, you're on the right path, you're doing it the right way, let me just speed that process up.
Yeah.
So
that's definitely a huge helping hand, isn't it?
sometimes it's just the boost in confidence is what you need.
Yeah. Man, well, you guys are killing it. Newman Power Sports is out there changing the game. Before we end this interview, I got to give a shout out. I've not done anything with it yet, but in the crate behind me, it might be underneath the lawnmower hood, but I got the engine that I bought from you that I'm going to put together in my boy's bike at some point, probably next season, ready for next season. But I just want to give a shout out that Josh is a great seller. If he ever decides to sell anything else, Josh.
I appreciate it. I mean, that
Yeah.
was always our plan. Like I said, I bought that chassis that I sent you pictures of to have that all set up, and I, I I'm very capable of making things work, but would I feel safe putting my kids on it or someone else's kids on it's a little different story. But if it was something for me, I mean, I've got some go-karts out back that I've gotten for free and mini bikes that we have a blast on. So a little different, welding in motor mounts and jack shaft and stuff, but
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate
Yeah.
it, Bill. I appreciate
I
the
can
whole.
vouch for that as well. I've dealt with Josh in the past, so he's a good seller if you're looking to buy some parts.
Yes, sir. Well, Josh and Mason, before we end this interview, and once again, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a little bit extended. I know you're tired. You all got to get up really early in the morning. Before we end each interview, we like to give them an opportunity to give a shout out. I know you've done a few already with Kevin Cunningham and stuff like that, but and we'll start with Mason here. Mason, give us a shout out to just somebody who's helped you out along this journey.
I would really like to say Blake Chavis. Me and him started out racing together at Greens, and he's been somebody I've looked up to since, I was 12, 13 years old. And, having him there, people get us mixed up as brothers and stuff, but I really see him as a brother, and I really appreciate all he does to look out for me. And, talking to him at Shelton's and at Gilbert, every race, he's always giving me a little insight of things. And maybe, whether I made a bad shift or I shifted too late or too early, hey, maybe do this a little bit sooner or a little bit later. And, it's awesome to have somebody out there like that looking up for you. So definitely Blake Chavis. And as great as a rider he is, I'm definitely going to listen.
Well, that's great that you said that because we're actually interviewing him on the same episode. So that's awesome that you gave him the shout out. So that's awesome. Well, Mason gave a shout out to Blake. Josh, who you got?
Who has influenced and helped me the most, probably?
Just throughout this journey of racing and where you are now. It could be anybody. Bonus points for the wife.
Oh no, if she wouldn't let us do it, then we wouldn't be doing it. Period. So blessed to have my wife that God sent me, and she changed my life, and she made me want to be a better person and not be the immature kid. And she gave me the opportunity to be a father. So absolutely. If she said that racing had to quit, sadly, it's going to be one of those things. We've been married 17 years, 18 years coming up in September, and you don't just throw that away for nothing. So,
well,
this is,
congratulations.
I gotta be blessed.
Congrats, man.
Congrats
awesome.
on being married for 17 years. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Caleb just got hitched earlier this year, and I just got married like 10 days ago. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you're always going to be wrong. You got to learn from it. You got to learn from it.
We're learning right now, though.
You got to be able to say you're wrong.
That's why the podcast is in the garage. So, but no, Josh, Mason, thank you guys so much once again for coming on. We surely appreciate your time. We're looking forward to great things from you guys. Ricky, do you got anything else before we leave?
Well done, boys. Like I said, nobody deserves it more than you guys, and I am looking forward to it, to what the future holds for you guys. Well done.
Caleb, what do you got for him?
Just congrats again, guys. I hope to actually see you guys in person one of these days, and keep at it, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Have a good night.
Hey everybody, this week's episode brought to you by Racing in the Dirt. Located in Cleveland, Wisconsin, Racing in the Dirt has been in the off-road parts, equipment, and chassis business for over 30 years now. From full chassis builds, currently at 50 and counting, to wheel adapters, brake kits and components, hub kits and components, steering parts and knuckles, suspension parts, air filters, complete chain drives and parts, also real wheels and even cut tires. Scott, Shane, and company can get you hooked up with everything your dirt drag, sand, or mud ride needs. New from Racing in the Dirt for 2024, UTV offerings. From full cages to protected bars, with more parts to come, they're stepping into the UTV market with some new stuff. So find them on the web, racinginthedirt.com, or connect with them on Facebook, or give them a call. Area code 920-693-2000. That's area code 920-693-2000. And the UPS Daily, racinginthedirt.com.
Hey, we're with Isaac, John, and Caleb right now, and John's ranting about integrity with records at greens. Go ahead, John.
We're just talking about integrity with records, and if you knowingly run at a track that doesn't have a guard beam and submit a record, that's kind of shady. Let's
Sketchy.
put it nicely.
It's sketchy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I guess from my standpoint, I'm not saying that it's, you know, like, I just think, yeah, John, I think the perfect word is ethical, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
Yeah, and I think part of it is like, you know, I mean, I'm not going to necessarily give Scott the benefit of the doubt on knowing what a guard start is, because I feel like he's been around the sport long enough that, and around drag racing in general, that he should know what the difference is. There's definitely people that don't know the difference. So like we were talking about this, and some people were asking us like, what is the actual reason for having a guard beam? So all of our drag racing in sand and even on pavement, your track length is determined from the start of the guard beam to your finish line ET sensor. That's your 300 foot for sand drags. And when we don't have that guard beam, especially in sand drags, because the track is so uneven and our beams are usually up higher off the surface of the track, pavement, they can get away with them being an inch off
4
the
inches,
ground.
I think they're 4 inches in NHRA.
4 inches. So that, for most cars, you know, you're going to be able to clear a lot of body panels and stuff because they're not going to be dragging down. But like you guys both experienced at greens, with dragsters, with low slung vehicles that are long, you're going to be without a guard beam. You're not going to leave that stage beam until halfway down or the end of your vehicle. So the timing system isn't starting until that stage beam gets uncovered. And that means that in reality, you guys are starting, you know, 3/4 of the way down your vehicle. And that's giving you that extra, you know, whatever feet advantage towards the finish line. And, you know, for some people that don't have super low slung vehicles, or ones that wheelie really quick out of the hole, they may not have that issue. But you guys clearly had problems with running wacky ETs. And that's what we have to prevent. And maybe it's because we didn't explicitly make it super clear that we require a guard beam. I literally went and just changed it on the site, because like that is something from day one that we have always required, because we want to make sure this is legit.
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so just so everybody knows, we started this like mid rant, and what we're talking about here is that obviously John and Isaac, if you watch WSDN TV on World Sand Drag News YouTube, first episode came out. Isaac and John took a trip to Green's Dragstrip in Henderson, Michigan, and look at that. They went to the track and they did some investigating and stuff, and they discovered that Greens didn't have a guard beam. And so, rightfully so, we decided to basically retract take the record away from Greens, where Scott Gorilla's gas buggy record was held by Green's Dragstrip. So we kind of took it away because they had no guard beam start. It's an unfair start, kind of like what Caleb's mentioning. If the timer basically isn't starting until your car is fully out of the lights, that's not really fair. So they were kind of ranting about it before, well, not ranting. We were talking about it before the show started, and that's John told me to start it, and so I started it. And that's how we got to where we were with that. I did see that somebody wanted an explanation about the difference between what was it? A regular guard beam start and
Hard
the
start
one
or a stage start.
and
Which Caleb just did.
Yeah.
oh, okay. So
Yeah,
there you go.
which was
That's what-
awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that was perfect.
yes.
And to be clear, just so everybody's listening, Scott still has the record for a gas buggy. It
True.
just gets rolled back to a slower time that he turned in from Cleves, Ohio.
Right.
So this is exactly what we were talking about on a previous episode about that record, maybe being a question of greens, and it hadn't been repeated at any other track. Well, now we know for certain why. It's because they didn't have a guard beam. And that means that really
Well, the real thing, Caleb, that bothered us the most is kind of the backlash we got over the episode
Mhm.
of how are we, I mean, who are we to question anybody that's out there setting records or whatever? That was us. And who are we to come into that track and question that? And I really sat there and I even messaged somebody from the track. I said, what are you guys hiding? Somebody knew. Somebody had to know. And when we got there, we had several people come over to us and talk to us. And I had one guy, Randy Gustafson, bless his heart, he tried helping me. We put a cheater plate out on the front, trying to manipulate the beam and whatever. No matter what we did, it would start at the back of my car. I'd cut 600 light, have a 101 60-foot time, and run a 3.9. Or the next pass, I'd run a 3.4. My lights, I would have a 600 light or a negative 100 out of nowhere. And it's like, I'm leaving in the same place. I've cut a light before,
You, John, you've cut a light before? Wow,
there's a rumor out there that I've done it once.
I think you're just mad because you didn't win.
I think that's what it
That's
is.
true. I got pulled off the podium.
Isaac
hard
should have
to
got a
get.
rerun, I heard. What was that, Isaac?
He didn't stick to his guns.
Hold on, Isaac, what was it?
So, are we going to start back like from the beginning and then work our way through, or are we just gonna...
Yeah, go for it.
We'll
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
This is all new to everybody watching, so this is fun.
yeah. So if you haven't checked out the WSDN TV episode on YouTube, I would strongly encourage you to, even before you go any further in this podcast. You'll see Johnny and I getting together, leaving, getting to the track, taking a pit ride, and some stuff like that. You'll even hear a wrap up from me later on Saturday night. I was sunburned. I was pretty beat, but I think I was still pretty articulate at that point in time. So anyway, so we got to the track. I would say what, John? It was 5 minutes or less. We had people in our pit, and the question was, what are you guys doing? Why are,
Isaac sent me a picture of some guy talking to John. He was like, it's already starting.
It's true, and to be fair, I think there were more of the idea that, we were just kind of blowing some smoke here on the podcast, and that wasn't what was going on. I mean, I guess that was the part I really wanted to get across to people is we're not here because we don't like the place. We're not here because, we don't want to see a record here and everything else. We just want to make sure everything's legit because we owe it to everybody else out there to say, hey, yes, this track's 100% legit. It's good to go. And Scott laid down this smoking pass to set the record. Because if we don't, the flip side is that how do you know every record out there is set in completely legit conditions? And that was kind of our goal, was to check things out, make sure that was the case, that everything was good, and, do a little racing. I mean, I'll be honest, it's been 15 years since I bracket raced. I haven't turned in a dial time in at least 15 years, probably.
15 years?
I would say.
So you just been using your voice at races, and you just been racing heads up, and you just okay.
That's all we've done. I have not. Yeah, I would say it's for surely 12, probably closer to 15.
Hey, you ran your fastest pass ever, also. So congratulations.
So, So yeah,
ran your-
so I was
you
kind of
ran-
looking forward to it.
We really were. We had all intentions of going down there and having a good time with everybody, and certifying a track and saying, "All
And
right."
we knew a lot of people there.
Right, and the ones that we knew were great. But you could tell there was an outpouring of, "What are you doing here? Why are you here? Who are you to question us?" I mean, we got that when we went in the tower and talked to Ron. Ron was a complete. Well, I won't say it on the podcast because I'm better than that, but he was a jerk. I mean,
Yeah,
he went in there and questioned us. He told us, "Who are you? What you said on your podcast is a lie." When I asked him what it was, he couldn't revert back to it. He said, "I'll have to watch it again," after he told me he watched it the night before. So I found that pretty interesting. But I hate to tell you this, Ron, your track didn't qualify. You were the one hiding something here.
And I believe, John, he at one point said to us, he didn't care if we certified it or not.
Not only did he tell us that, he told me that when I asked him what the distance from stage to guard beam was, and he told me 12 inches.
Yes, he did.
Full and well, he does not run a guard beam.
That is right. Yep, 100%.
So,
and the only
when somebody's calling a liar, I don't know how you say that saying, but being called a liar and then getting found out,
Yeah, and bottom line is like that's not even something that he can go and try to claim. I mean, you can clearly go to the starting line, which you guys did. You can see if there's 3 beams or not, and there's only 2. And we kind of, after looking at the time slips and checking out the website of the timing system provider, that timing system is more specifically used for RC drag racing and even pavement or sand slot cars as well. And that means that they are both quickly getting out of those beams, and they are much smaller cars.
Is it sand drags? Matter. Is it RC sand drags?
They do it for RC sand drags, but just everything in general. But that's what the timing system's used for, and there isn't even an option to use a guard beam with it. Doesn't mean it's a terrible timing system.
So
it just means it has limitations.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that a slot car timing system probably isn't the best for the records that we keep for World Sand Drag News.
Correct. And like Isaac and John are saying, you can go there, and we're saying that they're bad people. We're not saying that you can't go there and race and have fun. There's limitations. If you are in a low slung car like you guys both had, there's going to be issues with running consistently. But by all means, people want to go there. They run, they do bracket racing, they have fun. That's great. It's just that we can't use that track for our world records because they don't run a guard beam.
Right.
Simple as that. Exactly.
Isaac.
It was funny because when John and I first got there, we were talking to another racer that we both know, guy that's pretty well known in Michigan. They've done some racing all over the place. And he said to me, he goes, "I offered to pay for the guard beam and nobody's taken me up on it." And I was like, what?
So you can install a guard beam into that system?
I don't think
you can. After reading
That's
into
why
it,
they haven't taken them up on it.
You can't do it to that system. That's why they haven't taken them up on it. Isaac's exactly
hey,
right.
I get it. Timing systems are expensive. They want to go to get a brand new portal tree system. That's 3 times the cost of the system that they have in place. So I understand. Like if you can't afford to go and swap that out, do what you guys are doing. You just can't run records. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, you can't have a good time, like Caleb said. I mean,
well, so the other things we noticed, is you could go there and have a good time. They got a nice little facility. They keep it up nice. They've got a good tractor that they use to grade, and they've got a box tractor on the starting line. They struggle like any club trying to find helpers, but I see you could go there and have a good time if you wanted to. Absolutely. The timing system will work for exactly what they want to do, but as Caleb stated, it's just not record material.
Yeah. And this isn't, I feel like this isn't us ragging on greens.
Right.
It's 100% just focused on the record portion of this whole thing. And some of the feedback / blowback we got which was misplaced with the idea that we were somehow against the track. That's not at all the case. I have enjoyed every time I've gone there. We always have a good time when we go there. It's good race and everything else. It's just not a place where we can take a record from. That's all. That's not a shot at anybody. It just that's just the factual part of this.
And hey, if they want to go and purchase a Race America or a Portatree or what do you guys use at Thunder Valley? A Crondex system, Billy?
Yes, we use a Crondex system,
Crondex.
and they don't make it anymore.
Well, if they want to find a used one and they want to put it in, as long as it's got a guard beam, we can go back out there and make sure everything's legit, and allow them to take records. But we and this is not, like you said, this isn't against greens. This is any sand drag facility that's only utilizing a stage beam. And also, I'll say this too, even if they have a guard beam, if they're not utilizing the guard beam start, okay, and we find out about that, just like Damian was talking about last week, that Portatree over in Franklin County Four Wheelers, Brookville, Ohio, Indiana, they had an issue where an update caused the guard beam sensor to not work with their system. They got that figured out, but if anybody had set a record at that event, we would have outlawed that. And because we knew for a fact that's what happened. And anybody that wants to go and say otherwise, we've all been doing this a while. Even Bill and myself being the spring chickens here, we've been around the sport our entire lives. Everybody with WSDN has been around this long enough that we can look at times, especially if we have 60 foot and mile an hour, and we can generally look at it and see if it's legit. When we've got John running a 1.01, running a 390, we know something's wrong, because a 1.01 60 foot, that's easily at least a low 3.0, if not into the twos pretty deep.
Right.
Well, John ran as fast of the week ever this past weekend with this car, so that's good. And Isaac did also. So congratulations to you guys. Don't lose those.
You know what really irritates me about that one is I was on the brakes and it went a 406. If I had actually stayed in it to try to win and not cared, I probably would have run a 390 something.
You would have smashed that mini fucking Dragster record, maybe.
Oh shoot.
Oh man. Well, nonetheless, let's get into these winners from Green's Drag Strip. The record, Greens can't hold records until they get a guard beam, but even if they don't get it,
still go race there.
Yeah, you still go race there. It's a great time.
Absolutely.
And whether they want you or not, you can go race there. So we can talk about these winners real quick. I'll probably cut that out. Hold on. We'll cut this out too. Isaac, John, where did you send me that?
Just go to their page.
You need help?
No, he's got it. I got it.
You find it?
Yeah. Okay. My bad. All right. So we had Caleb. Are you on their site by chance? Are you looking at the pictures of the cars by chance?
I can.
Before I get too involved with this.
Yeah. Give me 1 sec.
I will say, okay, this one will not cut out. This one will leave in after I talk right now. 3, 2, 1. I will say, they do a great job of posting photos of their races on their Facebook of all the cars that they got and stuff.
Mm-hmm. The lady that was coming around taking pictures, excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I was good. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
she got great photos of you two.
Yeah,
she got good photos of you two in the staging lanes. Yeah.
That was Sarah Arnold.
What was her name? What was her name?
Sarah Arnold.
One more time.
Sarah Arnold.
Sarah Arnold?
Yes. You got old ears, man.
Okay. All right. Well, shut up, John. We'll talk about these winners real quick. We'll start with the kids. First place in the junior class, Allison Vestula. Did I say that right?
You did.
Cool. First place, Allison Vestula. Second place, Cooper Compton. And then third place, Amir Davis. Amir Davis.
Shout out Amir Davis on the snowmobile bike.
Yeah.
I know he was kicking butt, wasn't he?
Is that a triple?
It is.
It is.
He's like 9 years old
Yes.
riding the triple.
Manhandle it.
Yeah. He's Mark Mosier Jr.'s nephew, I think.
Yes.
Okay. Sweet. All right, and then we got well, I don't know. What's the difference? It might be a silly question. What's the difference between mod and super mod?
Fast and slow. They just take everybody, you run out your time trials, and they divide the class in half. So
kinda
your
like-
slower ones become mod and your fast class becomes super mod.
So kind of like what Brookville, Indiana does. Franklin County.
Yeah.
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 But then
okay.
you draw chips for your first round.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it is.
That's pretty cool.
I liked it.
I'm guessing mod is the slower one and super
Correct.
mod is the
Yes.
fast one. Okay. So
But I
mod
told you that
first
and you
place.
didn't hear me.
You're old. First place in mod was not John Sorg, Frank Camel.
Camel, I think.
Frank Camel.
Yes.
Okay. Frank Camel got first place in mod. Congratulations, Frank. Second place was Jimmy Francis. Third place was Cheryl Wheeler. I gotta give a shout out to the Cheryl chick because I see them post her all the time driving that. Is the Volkswagen buggy, right? I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's been kicking butt down there with that.
Yeah,
thing.
she's a killer.
Hey, I
Scared
tell
away.
you what, Billy.
Scared away.
You talk
Jones.
about old school. There's more Volkswagens at Greens than there is at Silverback.
I love that.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
You would, Billy.
I would. Yeah, I'm a Volkswagen guy.
I will say too, I think it's freaking cool. Looking at the modified class, at least the winners here, we've got a lifted Chevy pickup, we've got a Can-Am that looks pretty dang stock, a Max too, the 4-seater, and then we've got a Volkswagen buggy. That's like quintessential
Yeah,
sand drag, just variety across the
Yeah.
class.
There's
That's
everything.
a very wide variety. That's a very wide variety for sure. And then we got our super modified class. First place, Michael Francis.
Shout out Michael Francis. Nice pass, buddy.
Yeah.
What pass?
When he beat me in the final.
Oh, okay. I got you. Oh, okay, yeah, because we'll talk about that here in a second. He beat you in the final, but you didn't get second. We'll talk about that here in a second.
Yeah, we
Second
can get to that,
place,
too.
second place, Coulter Botten in the Bolton. Sorry, what?
Coulter Bolton.
Well, they put bot. Oh,
They
it
got
says-
a typo on there.
Well, you
They
can't
got-
read either.
No, they got a typo on their Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm on their Facebook now, John.
Oh,
Yeah, maybe you wrote it wrong.
That's
maybe
true.
I'm saying it right because it's on their Facebook.
drop
Uh,
it here and let us know if you got it right.
You know what? We're just gonna say Coulter B. There you go. Coulter B
There you
got
go.
second. It looks like he's got that turbocharged setup.
Looks like it.
It does. Is that a Volkswagen?
Turbocharged VW.
Man, I wonder where he's running. Well, I guess it never mind. Third place, Matt Compton in that white buggy.
Looks like another turbocharged VW.
Yes.
Yep.
Is it? Yes, it is.
Yes.
Is it? Yeah. It's hard to tell, but yeah, just from the image. But yeah, those are your winners from Green's Dragstrip in Henderson, Michigan. Okay, they moved all this stuff. I don't know where. Okay,
Posted.
my bad. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right, and then Isaac. I said, you just said it. You made it to the finals and you lost to the guy who got first place, but we didn't say your name at all on that winners list. Tell us how they kind of run their races over there.
So this is
With a
another
bracket.
good thing. I chalk it up to good things about Greens. When you run through your first round, we'll say the first go through, 2 guys get down to the final. Have me, myself, and Michael Francis. He beat me. He gets the first place trophy. He's done racing for the day. Myself and everybody else that lost in that round start all over again, and they race them out for second and third. So even though I went all the way to the finals the first time around, I did not make it to the finals in the second time around. Therefore, I'm just sitting on the bench and loading up like everybody else.
Mm.
Then
So that's
you
an
gotta-
interesting double elimination deal. That I was wondering how they figured out third, but that makes sense. You get down to what is basically
Left.
your losers,
losers
bracket,
bracket,
final,
yeah.
and that's second and third.
Yep. That's exactly how they do it.
Yeah, like it kind of sounds like how they split up the classes is kind of like Franklin County in a way, but then how they run the brackets out by getting a winner and then running the whole classes again to see who gets second and third. That's almost like how they kind of do the mud racing brackets down in South Texas and stuff. So that's kind of see how they integrate kind of both worlds without knowing probably. And that's just how they do it. So that's kind of cool to see that.
Honestly, that's probably easier to keep track
Yeah,
of
been that way.
for double
Even from the first
elimination
time I
than-
went there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That would be pretty easy to keep track of too. Do they do points? That would be super easy to keep.
They
track of.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
That was actually one of the funny things was, funny depending on how you look at it, but
You're a
when
point
one of the
spoiler.
gentlemen came over to talk to John and myself, and he said to me, he says, it's easy to talk on the internet when you've never been someplace. And when we got a little further down the road, I informed him that he would be mistaken thinking that, because not only had I been there, I've been there multiple times and raced. My son was the junior points champion there one summer. So I was really familiar with how things worked over there. This wasn't my first rodeo coming over there. And after that, he did apologize. I appreciate that. And he's raced there a long time. Not gonna lie, I did get the best of him in the semifinals, so that felt kind of good too. So
All right. Well, yeah, that was your recap from Green's Dragstrip in Henderson, Michigan.
hey everybody, this week's episode brought to you by Racing in the Dirt. Located in Cleveland, Wisconsin, Racing in the Dirt has been in the off-road parts, equipment, and chassis business for over 30 years now. From full chassis builds, currently at 50 and counting, to wheel adapters, brake kits and components, hub kits and components, steering parts and knuckles, suspension parts, air filters, complete chain drives and parts, also real wheels and even cut tires, Scott Shane and company can get you hooked up with everything your dirt drag, sand, or mud ride needs. New from Racing in the Dirt for 2024, UTV offerings. From full cages to protected bars, with more parts to come, they're stepping into the UTV market with some new stuff. So find them on the web, racinginthedirt.com, or connect with them on Facebook, or give them a call. Area code 920-693-2000. That's area code 920-693-2000. And the UPS Daily, racinginthedirt.com.